Hey guys, in this video I'm going to review with you how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. Specifically, we are going to use what's called the Xbox method. This is one of many different methods for factoring, but I like this one just because it can simplify it a little bit for some students. So first we have an equation and it is set equal to 0. So sometimes you will have to set your equation, set it equal to 0 first. Since ours is already set equal to 0, we can go and tell us a is 1, b is -1, and c is -30. Remember, when we are looking for, these are our coefficients. So once we have this, we're going to set up our box, our x. The top of the x is going to be a times c, and our bottom is going to be b. So 1 times -30 is -30, and then -1 over here. Now we are looking for numbers that multiply to -30 and add up to -1. So let's think about our numbers that multiply to -30. And then we will check, do they add to -1? So first off, when we're multiplying to a negative number, we know that they are going to have different signs, right? One is going to be positive and one is going to be negative. So I like to start with, well, we have 1 times -30, or positive 30 times -1. But this gives us -29 or positive 29, so that's a no. I could do 2 times -15 or -2 times positive 15. But when I add these up, I get -13 or 13, which also doesn't work. I could try 3 and -10 or -3 and positive 10. But when I add these up, I get -7 or positive 7. I could try 5 and -6 or -5 and positive 6. You notice every time I'm making a pair, I am listing both possibilities for the sign to make sure I get the exact right pair. Now 5 plus -6 is -1, and that is what we wanted. This one would give us positive 1, which was not what we want. So we know that our two values are going to be 5 and -6. So our next step in the Xbox method is we set up our box. And in our box, we're going to put ax squared, so that was x squared. We're going to put our last term, which was -30. And then we're going to do 5x and 6x. So we took our -6x, because we took our numbers from our x and bring them down here. So our last step is we have to figure out, well, what are our actual factors? So what times what gives me x squared? Well, that's going to be x and x. I know that I need x times something to give me 5x, so that has to be a positive 5. X times something to give me -6x, that's going to be a -6. And then I can check, -6 times positive 5 is -30. So I know my factors are x plus 5 and x minus 6 equals 0. So our last step is we are going to set each factor equal to 0. So I could do x plus 5 equals 0, or x minus 6 equals 0. On the left side, I am going to subtract 5 on both sides, and we get x equals -5. I could add 6 on both sides, and we get x equals positive 6. And those are going to be our two answers for our quadratic equation solved by factoring.